A post from r/AskReddit by jensvderpluijm asks, how did you get fat? DEAD says, drinking and bad diet. Lifestyle change, and I've already lost 25 pounds in 8 to 10 months. Safe Database in 9246 says, I didn't care about myself anymore. DSP Guy says, second breakfast and 11's. Spook Filled to Donut says, I love food, a little too much, and I hate exercise, a little too much. 40 Degree Rain says, I dated a fat person. It's amazing how easy it is to gain weight when the person on the sofa next to you will randomly make milkshakes and cheese plates or grab a bag of chips and offer you some. I lost it all again eventually after we broke up, but it took a while. Just Minutes Ago says, no parental guidance on eating or nutrition. Dr. Purple replies, lack of parental guidance can literally set you back over a decade as you go into your adult life. Ask me how I know. I am now getting my fitness and finances in order, and it feels exciting and good, but man, I wish I was elsewhere in life. Just the Frusual says, Munchies plus Zoloft is a bad combination. Many churros and ramen packets later, I gained more than 100 pounds in half a year-ish. But I'm 30 down so far. Slow going, but it's going. Mealian says, I can't regulate my emotions and I'm chronically sad and lonely. Eating is my coping and distracts me from my pain. Also the sugar addictiveness that comes with it. Careless Spray 5757 says, COVID lockdown. Just lost all motivation for anything. Ate nothing but frozen pizza for 6 weeks because I didn't want to wash up and barely moved. My good friend John says, yup, same thing happened to me. I was already at my heaviest, around 25 pounds over my average, and the weather was getting nicer, so I was about to get active again. Then I was told to stay indoors, so I did, and added another 50 to it. Remote job plus playing video games at the same desk all day for months, and the motivation to get active hasn't come back. Alternative Area 6511 says, sedentary office job, late night gaming sessions, and a reward pizza every stressful Friday. Turned into a years-long habit before I noticed the scale creeping up. It wasn't one big moment, just a dozen tiny choices piling on. 0110110111 says, hit my 20s, got a desk job, never adjusted my caloric intake. I ended up technically obese. Hit 30, felt disgusted by myself and lost the weight. 15 years later, I have kept my weight within a 10-pound window. I've learned that I always have to be aware of what I'm consuming, otherwise I find myself falling into old habits. The older I get, the easier it is to manage. I couldn't be happier. ThoughtOK8278 says, grew up in an unhealthy house. My mum never cooked. My dad always worked. Grew up on TV dinners of mac and cheese and spaghetti. My first job was making pizzas. Got free food. Ate a lot of pizza because otherwise I never got supper. Eventually moved to a nursing home where I also got free food, but they were much healthier, well-rounded meals. My boss was a dietitian, and I learned a lot about food and nutrition while I worked there. Once I moved out, I learned how to cook my own meals, thanks to my co-workers at the time. Started going to the gym and lost a lot of weight. At 26, it was the first time in my life I had been seen as healthy. Kitten Anya says, my metabolism slowed down. I've always been able to eat as much as I want without putting on weight. In my early 30s, my body decided it was time to slow down, so now I have to watch my weight more carefully. Sacrilitia replies, that's largely a myth. You likely just move way less now or eat more. Voldin91 replies to, move way less now. Getting a desk job after college really effed me up. Humans weren't meant to sit in front of a computer for 9 to 10 hours a day. Okay, Possession 6457 replies, it's not just the fact that you're sitting down, it's the fact that offices tend to encourage terrible habits around food. Yeah, you should pack a lunch and be mindful of what you're eating, but a lot of office workers have very bad DoorDash habits. Or I am eating this donut because someone brought it in habits. Or I walk by the candy jar all the time and grab a piece habits. Before my company went remote, my office was located in an area where you had walking trails, as well as a nature trail. This place was really good about enforcing paid breaks, so every 15-minute break I was walking. I would eat lunch fairly quickly and just walk the rest of the break. But a lot of people I worked with would spend every break just moving from their desk to the break room to scroll their phone, with the crumble cookies box sitting 2 feet away. Jiki and May says, when I was a kid, my parents loved Old Country Buffet. We would go there every week, and my parents insisted that we get our money's worth. It started then and hasn't stopped until recently, when I started counting calories and paying attention to what I eat. Lokoff Spade says, DoorDash. Having access to all the tasty food in town and the ability to just get whatever delivered is just too much power for me to handle, lol. Grimspoon says, I was normal, average weight up until my teens, but then my eating habits just out of control. Gradual weight gain through the 20s and 30s until I hit my lowest point, and at 42, I decided to change. I attribute it to a few things: depression, loneliness, and exhaustion from work being chief among them, boredom, apathy, and lack of self-respect being tertiary issues. A year and a half of no sugar, moderately light exercise, no booze, and a fairly extreme calorie deficit, I went from nearly 300 pounds to a stabilised 145 pounds on a week-by-week average. Now, I still avoid sugar. I keep a respectable calorie deficit most days, and I eat a lean, healthy, natural diet. Few, if any, processed foods. I also spent a lot of time intermittent fasting, about a year's worth of being on a fairly strict 24 fast, and it was a bit like torture, but it was part of the process. I've stopped denying myself casual drinking, however, because a guy should have a few vices. Giving up sugar but enjoying a bit of whiskey seems a fair compromise in order to maintain some sanity. Impressive Side 1324 says, my parents were both obese, and they didn't care about getting healthy, and growing up in a household that didn't give a crap about being healthy meant I had a crap eating habit and crappy life. I won't blame it all on them, since I didn't make an attempt to change until I met my wife in middle school. Pretty much as soon as I met her, I realised I needed to change myself in a massive way if I wanted to change with her. I cut out most sugar and carbs from my life, got a job and a gym membership, lost about 150 pounds, and then got a bunch of dental work. All that work really paid off. I've been with my wife for 16 years, and we have 3 kids. Difficult Issue 794 says, stress eating. Also a lot of energy drinks and coffee. I used to work nights and be constantly stressed since the people I lived with did not understand the concept of why I slept during the day. I'd get yelled at for making too much noise at night, but the second I complained it was, then don't sleep all day. And when I tried explaining that I worked nights and it was impossible to not sleep, I got, then get a different job. Moved, and it was the same crap with different people. Finally rented a room from a co-worker who worked the same shift to get out of it. Quiet Pomelo 2077 says, I had a baby, ate loads while breastfeeding, and then never cut back down to my previous levels when I stopped. Andy Venon says, I grew up thin, really thin, despite my strong appetite and love of carbs. In my early 20s, as my metabolism was slowing down, I experienced 2 surgeries, a lot of chronic pain issues, and high amounts of inflammation that left me doing little more than living an extremely sedentary lifestyle. My diet did not change. Food was one of the few things I could still enjoy. 4 years spent basically doing nothing but eating, playing video games, and watching TV lead to a pretty significant weight gain. As I started to recover, I was able to be more active and started getting back into some kind of shape. Lots of stress, moving across the country, being hella broke, then starting a new desk job lead to more weight gain. I got pregnant at 30, didn't gain much weight then, took my and my baby's health very seriously, gained 20 pounds total the whole 9 months, and was back to my pre-pregnancy weight a month after giving birth. First 3 months PP was during the beginning of COVID lockdown, so it was just hanging out with my kiddo and dog, doing a lot of walking. Then I went back to work, from home. Working 10-hour shifts at a desk left very little time for being active. I steadily gained back all the weight I had lost after giving birth, and then some. It got worse when I had to go back to the office. Then 2 years later, life got extremely hectic, and my diet took a huge turn for the worse with no change in my sedentary lifestyle. I reached my highest weight ever of 270. I kind of sort of started trying to watch my diet and fitting in any kind of movement where I could. Lost 30 pounds over the course of about 6 or so months, but then I was diagnosed with type 2. Couple months of cutting lots of excess sugar and carbs and taking metformin. I lost a couple more pounds, but nothing impressive. Then I was put on Mounjaro. I'm now 4 pounds from my pre-pregnancy weight. My A1C is in the normal, controlled range. I'm trying to be active as much as possible and cut out nearly all excess sugar and carbs. Still fat, still out of shape, forever diabetic, but trying. Eyeshadow on Reddit says, bad eating habits. I ate 2 plates of servings. I didn't know anything about healthy foods. I wasn't educated about health. That was in 2010. Now I am keeping my weight down, and I went from size extra large to size small. A lot of success. Adam Injapin says, I ate too much, again and again and again. Minsun Devil says, got a job where I spend the majority of my time driving around. Gas station food or fast food for lunch. Up 50 pounds in 4 years. Corgi Teeth says, mental illness. I ate to be happy. Still wasn't that happy because I saw what it did to my body. Now I can't go back completely. Treasure Snatcher says, because every time life hit me, I hit back with snacks.